this is what we're going to do as part of the first part of this particular course. As you know, this is an 8-week course. And then in the first week, that is today and tomorrow, we're going to discuss about the career and role of business analyst. It's quite important we actually try and understand and set a kind of a context as where a business analysis really sits in. So we'll have a look at that to start with. We'll kick off the session with this context setting that would really help propel the whole thing. It's like your martial arts, or if you're driving a vehicle, or driving a car or a bicycle, you can't just start off on the 5th gear. That would be really hazardous to everyone. So it's important we actually start off in the neutral gear, or even if you start on the 1st gear, we can then slowly pick up pace as we go, and then we'll actually try and increase the gear, add more and more detailing, have more and more fun activities, indulge in some kind of activities, and then whiteboarding, do a bit of hands-on exercise. That's when in the next few weeks, I would like you to get your computers or even pen and paper, just so that we can do some kind of tasks and modeling. So that would really help us. We'll let you know about that in the due course of the next few sessions. And then we would actually move on into what is business analysis. We'll talk about it from the context of 2 important institutions in business analysis. One is the International Institute of Business Analysis. I'm going to admit, sorry. So we will have the definition of business analysis from 2 very premier institutions of business analysis. One is the International Institute of Business Analysis, and the other one is the BCS, which is the British Computer Society. So then we would also like to look at, I'm not sure if everybody else is listening. Are you able to listen to me all right? I guess so. Yes. Okay, cool, thank you. Cheers. And then we'll talk about business analysis as your career. So how can you really try and build up your career in terms of starting off the path? Where does it really lead to? What are the kind of different stages in the progression of business analysis? And then we'll try and look at the specific roles. What are the different roles? What are the different names and types and categories and forms of business analyst? We'll have a look at those, and then also have a very interactive experience with one of the experienced business analysts, Rennie. She is with us, and then I would like to have a few tips and tricks from her experience, from her role in the journey of becoming a business analyst. So we'll have that session as well, which is really interesting. And then we'll have a look at some of the responsibilities, expectations, and also the key tasks that a BA is supposed to perform. So we'll try and have a look at all of these in greater detail as we go through in the next couple of days. And then we'll also try and look at what is the value add, what are the key benefits, why we need a BA, what are the real benefits of having a BA on the team or on the specific organizational business aspects. So we'll try and look at all of these, and then we'll have a summary and then question and answer session. So that's how we'll try and cap the first part, which is about the career and role. And then we'll go to the next session, which is about the skills and competencies, how we can really build up all these different skills and competencies that make up the business analyst as they are today. So without much ado, let's try and look the next aspect of, or rather the first one, in terms of the overview and context setting. In here, I would like to actually talk a little bit about the overall environment kind of aspects that we have in the context of professional or personal work that we do today. So we are trying to actually talk about the work, the kind of work it is involved, whether you're trying to develop a product, you have got any processes, any kind of, if you're working in an HR company, a call center, or you could be part of a logistics company like Amazon. Irrespective of whatever you're trying to do, or all you're trying to do at the moment is perhaps kind of, developing the product. So there could be a product, or it could be part of a service company where you've got a lot of different aspects of how you're serving the different customers. And you could be trying to build a service. It could be something like a Just Eat, or it could be something like Uber Eats, or it could be Uber. So all of these are service-oriented companies. You're trying to build that service. Or you could perhaps be building kind of a small little business, perhaps, which is about, it could be your own small office, home office, or it could be a vast business, a startup. So essentially, you're trying to talk about the business aspects of how to set up a business. Or you could potentially be involved in some kind of apps. So it could be a mobile app, could be a desktop app, or kind of enterprise. So it could be you're building apps, let's say, and you could also be involved in some kind of processes. For instance, you're trying to improve the processes in your own organization. It could be to do with recruiting process, the training process, development process, and then processes involved with infrastructure, leasing, procurement. So it could be to do with processes. Yeah, and then you're talking about involving a few people, trying to interact with them, the stakeholders, understanding the needs, trying to communicate with them in a way that really makes sense to the organization, and then trying to understand what is it that they need from you. So we're talking about some kind of people here. So these are stakeholders. It could be like to do with, for example, customers. You want to actually engage with your customers, understand how satisfied they are. If they're not, how can you improve their satisfaction level? What are the pain areas? So you're talking about customers, users. So, and then if you're talking about all of these, and then, for example, it could also be a situation where you've got some of the apps already in there. You're trying to derive some kind of insight, some analytics, which would really help you get to the next level. How you can try and use the existing data to help you get better, to help you deliver better services, better products, better apps, and to do business better way. So in terms of all of these, or it could be just about your own life. So all of these to do with, for example, here, this is where we're talking about. So in this context, where does business analysis fit in? So that's where your BA comes in. So they're going to actually look at the product, try and help improve the product from the point of view of the releases. That's where the product owner, agile business analysts come in. In terms of services are the same. They're going to look at it, re-engineer some of the processes, some of the services. Just going to admit. Yeah, so, and then you also look at how businesses are being performed. What are the kind of challenges businesses are having at the moment, how you can try and improve them. You're also trying to look at apps, trying to develop apps, understanding the requirements. And then you also look at the process improvements, and then perhaps the customer experience, user experience, how you can help enhance these aspects of the experience elements. Then look at the analytics, the business intelligence, the analytics bit. That's where all these Cognos and the Tableau and all of these new tools have been emerging. Database, looking at the data lake elements aspect of it. And then of course the life in general. That's where you're trying to address how confident you are, how communicative you are, how comfortable you are with yourself as a person. So that's where really business analysis really come into picture. So it's not something which is restricted only to one aspect of, let's say, data only, or only processes, or it cannot be applicable to, for example, user experience. No, if you look at it, it is applicable to pretty much everything we do in life and work. It's not just one aspect that a BA is restricted. It's not just about requirements alone. And in this context, I'm actually trying to build you the next one, which is this. So it's important. I think you would have come across this a number of times before. It's a parable of the elephant and I don't like blind men, calling it, perhaps let's call it as blindfolded men, or even kids, for example. It could be 5 or 6 children involved in understanding or defining. Okay, so in that context, so there are different perspectives. One describes it as a fan, another one as a spear, depending on what part of the elephant you're exposed to, or you're touching and feeling. You've got that sense and that kind of aspect into your mind, and that's what you bring it onto the table. It's pretty much the same with what we're trying to look at. It's in the context of a developer. A developer trying to look at it is more from the point of implementation, whereas an architect looks at it from a point of view of vision, the large vision in the future, 2 years down the line, how it could be. Whereas if you look at a tester or a QA, quality assurance person, it's all about the defects. They're trying to break the system. They're trying to understand how one can really break this. So their intention is about breaking rather than developers is all about building the system. So it's different perspectives, and same with business. So when we talk about the business person, his or her intention is about making that cut, getting the return on investment. It's about that initial interaction with the customers and users, how we can deliver better customer experience and make them satisfied, so that again comes back into the business. Whereas when we talk about the business analyst, they're trying to actually cut across these different spectrums, these different kind of stakeholders' perspectives, and we are trying to bring to the table a unified view. We as business analysts need to understand that, and that's what is the biggest, if you ask me, is the biggest value add that we try and deliver. So in that context, you would have again seen this. If you go to a particular customer, let's think about a scenario of this customer wanting to build something with a tree. So there's a tree, and then this customer has a requirement to build something using the tree. So you go and ask the customer, okay, what do you need? So this is what the customer really explained it to be. And this is how the project leader tried and understood that. Okay, this is what one's explaining. And this is what, without training, this is what you would really try and get to. And then this is how the architect kind of designed it. The architect designed it in a way of understanding the requirements from the project leader. And this is how the programmer kind of developed it, understanding from the architecture. And then this is how the business consultant described it. He described after the program is done, this is how we actually described it to the customer. And then this is how it was kind of documented. And this is how the operations and the infrastructure and IT infrastructure teams really installed. And this is how the customer was built. No wonder IT is still, prosperous. IT industry as a whole is really prosperous in spite of so many different failed projects. And then this is how it was supported after the sales, after the installation is done. This is how the maintenance and the support was. And finally, what really the customer needed was this. He or she just wanted this and needed this bit. He might, when you ask him what you really need, perhaps people are not in a position to kind of explain you clearly, because it's not just about, that's what we call as explicit gathering. So in the business analysis systems, we call it implicit need understanding. We need to understand and elicit. It's not about gathering, tell me what you need. Rather, it's about exploring, trying to excavate into things, and then trying to connect the dots, the different dots, and trying to make some sense, some kind of a pattern into this. And that's where a business analyst come into a big way. So this is another interesting thing. Again, trying to bring the aspect of where business analysis really fits in. So you would have seen that this is what we really plan for, to deliver something like a horse. And then the design team would deliver something close by to that. The development would try and, again, develop something, an application which is, again, closer to the plans. And when it is down to the testing and finally the release, what the final layout of the product turns out to be is just this. Pretty comical there, but it actually kind of brings to you the importance of why we need the cross, sorry, just make this. Why we need the cross functional teams, why we need to be cutting across these different disciplines. And then that's more important as that's more evident, and it comes out as we go into the course. So that's what is really business analysis all about. It's actually trying to bring in that sense of holistic perspective, trying to cut across these different aspects of implementation, operations, service team, and then support and installations, and all of these. We are trying to knit across these different things, string together, and make sure that we are delivering a product or an experience rather, which is what the customers or the users really needed, and what makes sense to the business.